Hey everyone, Ryan here from Next Level Property Investing. I hope you're well. 3 quick tips is what we're going to talk about in this episode. 3 quick tips to make your property portfolio grow as fast as you possibly can. Just before we get started though, a couple of things. 1, subscribe to the channel, make sure you get notifications every time a video is posted. Drop some comments below, let me know what you like, what you want to hear more of. 2, head over to the podcast if you've not already joined. We're on Spotify, Google, and iTunes, Deezer, all the main ones, Stitcher, etc. And finally, if you'd like 5 days of free on-demand training from inside my academy, head over to nextlevelpropertyinvesting.com/email-training and download all your training, get involved, understand how all the strategies of the property game work, what I do, and how you can move yourself forward. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the 3 quickest ways I see you moving your property game forward. For 1, it's all about viewings. For me, you get on enough viewings, you get enough properties. If you're not getting a property within for me, it's about 6 or 7 viewings, but at the start, it was probably about 15. 15 viewings should result in 1 property. If that's not happening for you, you're doing it wrong. You need to figure out what you're doing. You need to maybe seek some help. But your focused activity, if you're picking 15 of the right properties to go and see, if you're meeting with 15 of the right people, you're building relationships with 15 of the right people, I guarantee you will get at least 1 property deal, if not more, over the line. As I said, my hit ratio now is probably 5. 5 viewings equals 1 property deal. So, I can go on sort of the same. If I went on 15 viewings, I'd expect to take on 3 or 4 properties. But that comes with time, and that is because I've, spent the time and the hours going on the wrong viewings. I've spent the time and hours researching the wrong things, and you learn from your mistakes, and ultimately, it leads you to better acquisitions, better viewings, better relationships. I also cut a lot of the mistakes out before I even go. So I almost pre-qualify the seller, or I pre-qualify the landlord now before I go on a viewing. Whereas when I was first starting out, I was going on a viewing, having to prove myself. I was having to, answer all the landlord's questions and, build the trust with them. And yes, I still do that to an extent. Obviously now, a bit more confident, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about, and I've got a portfolio to show off for it, so it makes things a lot easier. But ultimately, you've got to start somewhere. So 15 is the magic number. Get yourself on 15 viewings and you'll start getting some properties. Number 2, when you start acquiring property, do not get sucked into the operations. If you get sucked into the operations, you'll not be able to get out there and get on the viewings. The viewings and acquiring the property have to be the biggest, the most important thing in your business. If anything's getting in the way of that, you need to use either a system or a software to automate that task for you. Use a virtual assistant from either the UK or overseas to take the task off your hand, or ultimately employ some staff, part-time or full-time. Now you might think, well, I haven't got any money to employ, I'm not generating any money. At the end of the day, if you stop getting out there doing viewings, you're not going to acquire property. You have to get out there, and I learned this. I acquired 21 properties in 7 months, and I didn't really think about the operational side of it. I was just hell for leather out there doing viewings, building relationships, doing deals, negotiating, and all of a sudden I had all these properties, and I was like, shit. How am I going to manage them all? And, I blew up. I absolutely blew up. I was trying to do it all myself. I just couldn't do it. So I had to get help. I had no choice. But when I got help, I realized how much I was holding myself back. I probably could have took that to 50 or 60 properties in 9 months. But for 3 months, I didn't acquire a single property because all I did was run around after guests, run around after tenants, sort maintenance out, do maintenance, all of this to save 50 quid here, save 30 quid there, save £10 an hour paying somebody, Really, really, really narrow mindset, and something that I wish I could turn the clock back on and do over again. I can't, but you can. You can learn from my mistakes. So always assess what your value is. How much are you worth? So for me, fitting a curtain pole, now I wouldn't even dream of that. The hour that it might take me to do, what I could achieve in an hour by trying to find more properties, speaking to more people, building more relationships, negotiating more deals, that is worth more than £50 an hour. So I can pay someone £50 an hour to save me having to go and do that, and I can spend my time on tasks that are going to bring money into the business. So that is the next thing, the quickest thing is don't get sucked into the acquisitions, into the operational side of it. It just drains your time and it will not help you move forward. The final thing that you need to do is make sure you've got everything streamlined. So for me, I want softwares and automation as much as I possibly can. Using various tools, I have softwares linked into one another. So when one thing triggers, it triggers something else in the software. But ultimately the business runs on autopilot. It runs while I'm asleep, it runs while the staff are asleep, and it continues to deliver good value for money, especially on the service accommodation side. We have probably 80% of our guests or so will go from a booking all the way to checkout and follow up without speaking to anybody in our business. However, it doesn't mean they have a bad experience. In fact, they have a great experience. They check in, they get their app, they get their access codes, they get their guidebooks, they get all their communication in terms of the welcome messages, the in-stay messages, the follow-up messages. We get the reviews done, and ultimately we have a follow-up to see if we're, make sure we're not leaving any money on the table. So everything's great though. They find it's hassle-free for them. There's no one interacting with them, and because whilst a lot of hosts want to get involved and want to give that personal touch, which I think is fine, if you're scaling quickly, that's impossible. There's no way you can go and do self-check-ins for all your guests. There's no way you can ring all your guests. Again, coming back to the time per hour, you'd be better off, rather than ringing your guest and saying, hi, welcome to the property, and just being all friendly to try and get a 5-star review. You'd be better off going finding another property that you can get another amount of cash flow out of, But at the same time, you can have a messaging system that pumps out the messages at the right time, whether it be via text or whether it by email. We do both with our system, and ultimately they're still feeling like they're getting looked after. They're still feeling like they haven't just booked and never going to hear from the company or the host that they've booked under. So don't get sucked into the operations. Work out what you think your time is worth, and ultimately stay on the acquisition trail. Always stay on the acquisition trail. And if you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, if you feel like you're not getting further forward, there's just probably a missing piece of the puzzle. You might just be focusing on the wrong strategy in the wrong area. Some strategies just don't work. You might be focusing on too expensive properties. You might be going after the wrong type of landlord. You might be speaking to the wrong type of estate agent. All these little things you could quickly change, and all of a sudden you could have a handful of properties on your books within 8 weeks. More than capable of doing that. Once you get it going, and once you figure it out, once that penny drops, then once you find your gold mine area, once you find your area that works for a certain strategy, you can take it on. I know one of my mentees, he found a location down on the south coast. He's managed to pick up 4 HMOs in 8 weeks, net cash flow £4,000 a month. He's under 25-year-old. So what a great start to his property journey, and what a great life he's going to have if he continues to build on that. So if you're not acquiring stuff fast, have a think about what you're doing. As I said before, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the podcast, and hit me up on nextlevelpropertyinvesting.com if you want to learn more about how I can help you and your property journey. Take care, everyone.